Everything is connected. If and when we fight a war with China, we will be fighting with Chinese electric motors, Chinese batteries, Chinese optics, and we will be buying Chinese motors, Chinese optics, Chinese batteries. It is a non-sustainable proposition. That is why, for our security, for the future of our children, for the future of our country, we have to build a production system, and we cannot allow this revolution to go by. Yes. Now, the next step, we have a strategic partner called the United States. The partnership should focus on how India and the United States can work together to take advantage of this revolution. That is what the conversation should be on. Please understand that India is as important as the United States for the simple reason that they cannot build an industrial system without us. They cannot build a production system without us. No matter what they say, the Americans simply cannot do what India can do because their cost structure is much, much, much more expensive than ours. We can build things that the Americans would never imagine. India can do that. So that would be the first part of a president's address. We would talk to the youngsters in India and say to them, we want you to be partners in this revolution. We want to change the Indian banking system so you can have access to it. And we believe in you, we trust in you, and we believe you can take on the Chinese. That's the first part. The second part would be about participation. We have done a caste census in Telangana, and what we have found is shocking. Almost 90% of Telangana is either Dalit, Adivasi, backward, or minority. Almost 90%. And I am convinced that that is the story across the country. I am absolutely convinced that the OBC population of this country is not one less than 50%, possibly 55%. 16% are Dalits, 9% are Adivasis, 15% are minorities. Last budget, there was a photograph. You remember the photograph? Of course. वो मक्खन बांटने वाली, हलवा बांटने वाली फोटो. मैं हैरान हो गया कि इस बार फोटो ही हटा दी. हलवा खिलाया, मगर दिखाया नहीं किसको खिला रहे. So at the center of any new development paradigm for this country, which runs parallel with the production paradigm I spoke of, which works together with the production paradigm I spoke of, is the participation of lower castes, OBCs, Dalits, Adivasis, in the wealth of this country. If we look at the largest corporates in this country, they're all owned. None of them are owned by OBCs. None of them are owned by Dalits. None of them are owned by tribals. If we look at the biggest media companies that support the Prime Minister, every day we see the Prime Minister's pleasant face, smiling face on these media. None of them are owned by OBCs. None of them are owned by Dalits. None of them are owned by Adivasis. This is the fact. So central to any new development paradigm is the architecture of a new paradigm. And that architecture of the new paradigm can only be built once the caste census is placed on this table. Because once the caste census is placed on the table, we will know exactly how much of this country's wealth, how much of this country's power, how many of this country's institutions are owned by 90% of this country. There are OBC MPs in the BJP. There are OBC MPs in the BJP. There are Dalit MPs in the BJP. There are Adivasi MPs in the BJP. Remember, you are OBCs, you have 50% of the population, and you have absolutely no power. I know that you're sitting there and you cannot even open your mouth. That is the truth of the country. Speaker sir, so the idea is, on one side, allow India and the Indian youngsters to participate in the coming mobility revolution. Allow them to participate in building robots, in building drones, in building electronic items, in building EVs. And on the other side, running parallel.
मैंने उनको ही मना
किया। The country, Speaker sir.
ऐसा नहीं है। आप भी बहुत डिस्टर्बेंस करते हैं।
Okay, Speaker sir. So parallel ideas. One idea: participate in the mobility revolution. Whether you're thinking of economy, weapons, production, healthcare, India should participate in this revolution. India should become the master of the electric motor, master of the battery, master of optics, and master of AI applied on top of that production system. Now imagine the power of AI when we apply it to the caste census. You imagine what we will do with AI and what we will do with the social revolution in this country when we start to apply AI on the data that we get from the caste census. So we are going to run a parallel track. On one side, participation, revolutionizing the participation of Dalits, OBCs, Adivasis in the ruling of this country, in the institutions of this country, in distribution of wealth of this country. And on the other side, parallel track, challenge the Chinese and participate in the revolution and defeat the Chinese in electric motors, batteries, solar panels, and wind. Yes. So that is the first two parts of any presidential election address that any India Gathbandhan leader would give you. The final, of course, we go back to the Constitution. This, our favorite, just like the production system is a weapon, just like Jati Jangarna is a weapon of transformation, this is what the entire architecture is built on. I remember before the elections, all of you were saying 400 par, and you were saying you would change this. And then I was glad to see that the Prime Minister walked in and then was forced to bow his head in front of the Constitution. It was a moment of pride for all Congress people that we had explained to the Prime Minister and to the whole country that no force will dare touch this. Yeah. I know that the RSS has never accepted this. Mohan Bhagwatji has said that India didn't get independence in 1947. He has said that this constitution is meaningless. I know that that is at your heart. We will never let your dream come true. This constitution is going to rule India always. Now,
एक मिनट आप प्रतिपक्ष के नेता हैं। मेरा आपसे आग्रह है कि जो विषय आप रखें वह तथ्यों पर आधार पर रखें, उचित होगा। मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा, और जो सदन के सदस्य नहीं हैं उनकी चर्चा न करें।
बताता हूं सर, मोहन भागवत
आप नियम प्रक्रियाओं की पालन करें। आपसे अपेक्षा है।
सर, मोहन भागवत जी ने स्टेटमेंट दिया।
मोहन भागवत का
Sir. Sir, one second.
We will authenticate.
Speaker, sir.
We will authenticate.
Speaker, sir, Mohan Bhagwat ji made a statement saying that India did not receive independence in 1947. It received independence when the Ram Mandir was inaugurated. We will place that on the table. Now, sir, I would like to mention one small thing, but very important thing. Speaker, sir, this constitution is supported by this constitution is supported by the vote of our people. Without the secure vote of the Indian people, this constitution means nothing. Now I want to bring to the notice of this House some data, some information about the Maharashtra election. Very simple stuff. Speaker, sir, between the Lok Sabha election, which the India Alliance won, and the Vidhan Sabha election, the voting population of Himachal Pradesh was added to the voting roll of Maharashtra. Meaning the entire population of Himachal Pradesh was added to the voter rolls of Maharashtra. Please understand what I am saying. In Lok Sabha, the difference between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha was the population of Himachal. The entire population. Almost 70 lakh new voters suddenly arrived between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha. Now, the most interesting part, and the Prime Minister is not looking at me. The most interesting part, the most interesting part, Muniche kar liya suddenly. The most interesting part is, Sir, Maharashtra mein more voters were added in 5 months in Maharashtra than were added in 5 years in Maharashtra. जितने 5 साल में ऐड हुए उससे ज्यादा 5 महीने में ऐड हुए, आखिरी 5 महीने में लोकसभा चुनाव के बाद। सर, एक बिल्डिंग है सर शिरडी में, एक बिल्डिंग में 7,000 नए वोटर एक बिल्डिंग में ऐड हुए सर। एक बिल्डिंग में 7,000 नए वोटर ऐड हुए सर। सर, मैं कोई आरोप नहीं लगा रहा हूं, मैं सिर्फ ये कह रहा हूं सर कि इसमें कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लमैटिक है कि हिमाचल प्रदेश जितने बड़े वोटर्स लोकसभा के बाद जादू से आ जाते हैं। अब हम क्या कह रहे हैं, हमने इलेक्शन कमीशन से रिपीटेडली कहा है कि हम आरोप नहीं लगा रहे हैं, आप एक काम कीजिए, हमें लोकसभा की वोटर लिस्ट दे दीजिए, नेम एड्रेस और इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली दीजिए, और विधानसभा नहीं है। नहीं सर, नहीं। स्पीकर सर,
वो सब वेबसाइट पे रहती है, सब जानते हैं, कभी भी कोई निकाल सकता है।
स्पीकर सर, मैं समझा देता हूं सर। स्पीकर सर, वो